Hey, happy Halloween, everybody. We love today because you get free candy without having to get into anyone's van.
Well, depends on who you ask.
Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lancia, alongside, sitting next to Jesse Cofield. She's playing a dead person today. That's what she is, dressed up as.
Continue.
Before the show, she was like, what if I just lay here like this the whole time?
I think
I don't want to do any work.
Great. So we are dishing out DFS and sportsbook picks for Game 3 of the World Series. We're going to talk NHL, so we'll hit the ice, links, hardwood, all that jazz. But first, it's time to overreact to what went down yesterday, because we love overreacting to just like what happened in the football verse. So let's bring in DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich and Pierce Dietrich for this segment.
Good morning, everybody. Great to have both of you here. So, wow, the NFC and AFC East, all of the teams in both divisions are at 500 or better. You'll find the Super Bowl favorites in both divisions.
Wow.
With the Eagles, with the Bills, you're going to find both MVP favorites in both divisions.
Yep.
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. The rest of the divisions, besides those two teams, Jeff, they're pretty damn good as well. Which one will have the most playoff wins this season?
Yeah, I mean, with the most playoff wins, I'm going to go with the NFC East. It's just easier path, I think, here. I mean, obviously, I'm sold on the Buffalo Bills doing stuff, but I think that the NFC East actually has two legit teams. I'm going to give Dallas the nod over Miami. I think that what Dallas has shown the last couple of weeks is that not only can their defense carry them when their offense isn't at full strength, this team grabbed road wins against the Rams. It grabbed a home win against Joe Burrow without Dak Prescott. But now that their offense is rolling, this team doesn't look like it's that far behind the Eagles. I think that they're the third best team when you're looking at these two divisions, and I'd rather lay my bets on Dallas making a long run than Miami. So I think, Philly, Buffalo, they're the class of the division, but you look at Dallas, first in sacks per game. They're right up there with Philly in terms of limiting opposing passing offenses as well. I think the Dallas Cowboys are looking legit right now, and I'm going to give the nod to the NFC East in terms of total playoff wins because of that.
All right, what do you think here, Pierce?
I agree. Buffalo and Philly are not just the class of their divisions. They're the class of the NFL. We should just go ahead and pencil them in for the Super Bowl. NFC East definitely is the better division when you factor in Dallas. The only thing that's really going to stop Dallas is Dallas, and that's going to be Jerry Jones when he puts Ezekiel Elliott back into the lineup and starts giving him more than half of the carries. We saw what Pollard can do if he is the lone back. That offense looks really good. The defense is already amazing. They are a real threat. They'll probably be, if we had to pick a team that's going to beat the Eagles the rest of the way on Christmas Eve, Dallas is probably going to be that team. The rest of the NFC East I could care less about. It's a great story out of the Giants, but they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. The AFC East, that's pretty rough. Maybe Tua, maybe if Tua gets it together and the Miami defense get it together, they can be somewhat of a threat, but I have no faith, no confidence in the Patriots or in the Jets. I think those two teams are going to sink pretty quickly.
Hey, Jeff, overreaction or not, the Commanders are a playoff team with Taylor Heineke under center.
Yeah, that's a massive overreaction.
Okay.
Maybe they get in the wild card race because like Green Bay can't get it together, but I think long term, I'll fade the Commanders. They're going to be in the race, but I'm going to say that they're not going to make it. So I mean, they're a better team with Taylor Heineke. I mean, but it's not that much of a stretch to say that a team is better when Carson Wentz isn't your quarterbacks.
Yeah, currently tied with San Fran for the final playoff spot.
All right, on the other hand, Falcons are division leaders at 4-4.
What in the hell? That may be the best division.
Can they actually win the division, though? Sitting at plus 210 on the DK Sportsbook, Pierce.
Yeah, they can win the division. I'm more interested in Jeff's Saints.
Yes.
If the Saints defense starts to play like they did yesterday and they play like the top 10 defense that we predicted and that offense gets healthy, I mean, they're doing this without Michael Thomas. They're doing this without Jarvis Landry. And if Andy Dalton could just be a game manager that doesn't throw – I mean, he could probably throw interceptions, just don't throw the pick sixes. And then the Saints are going to be a real contender. We saw what Kamara can do when they lean on him. I have a lot more confidence in the Saints going forward than I do the Falcons. The real winner – it's the Panthers. They're not going to win the division, but they're making the wise move in tanking, getting that number one pick, building up all these draft picks, and then next season they're going to play a really weak NFC South. So I'm very excited about the Panthers tanking, and they're the real winners.
All right, Jeff, can the Falcons win the division, or are you riding with your Saints here?
No, I think the Saints are a terrific bet to get on right now. Look, we have seen this from the Saints before. When Marshawn Lattimore is out or he's just not playing well, their defense has just been terrible in spots. And it's been like that through the start of the year. And yeah, it's a little concerning that this is a larger sample than usual, but they really turned it on last week. No one, absolutely no one, was expecting them to shut out the Raiders. So the fact that they got Alvin Kamara going, they still got that Taysom Hill, jackknife, whatever, bunch of plays in the back. They're doing that without Mike Thomas healthy. This team really should only be getting better. Exactly as Pierce alluded to. If their defense starts to play up to its potential, I mean, this team will be tough to beat. They're already, kind of a hard out because they're moving the ball seemingly without some of their best players. So you look at this division, I just don't think Atlanta has the horses to hold up here. Their secondary keeps getting burned week after week. I think much like the Giants, this team is probably just going to be on the wrong side of variance eventually. And I think that the Saints, I just kind of trust more down the stretch than the Bucs right now to get it together. The Bucs have a lot of just O-line issues. I just don't know if they're going to get straightened out. I think the Saints are the bets here. I mean, just from the odds perspective, getting them a plus 550 with the Bucs at minus 135, yeah, you got to take a shot.
I mean, Pierce, wasn't it more of what the Raiders did not do yesterday? Like, this team is an absolute mess. Overreaction or reality, Pierce? Josh McDaniels should not get a second season in Las Vegas.
That's a little bit of an overreaction based on one game. The Raiders had a lot of problems going into the season. Devontae Adams doesn't just fix everything. They got a ways to go. Carr is not really that great of a quarterback. I don't think McDaniels is going to be the guy to blame here. They've got a lot of problems. It's a little too early to do that.
All right, guys. The Rams, they still suck against the 49ers in the regular season. 8 straight losses now to their division rival. And in just his second game in San Fran, Jesse, listen to this. Christian McCaffrey had a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown. So the first
most handsome touchdown of all time, Jimmy G to CMC.
Oh, please. Wow. Anywho, first running back to do that, to accomplish that feat since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2005. Cooper Kupp, guys, got a little banged up on a meaningless play late in the game. LA's odds to miss the playoffs sitting at minus 190. Jeff, you betting that?
Yeah, we're betting that. The Rams they're toast.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, look, not only do they have to worry about the 49ers, they have to worry about the second best team in the NFC, which is the Seattle Seahawks, and the absolute comeback player of the year, and Geno Smith. Yes, I am fully on this bandwagon now. I am bought in, all in on the Seahawks. But no, I mean, we predicted this from the Rams. This Rams story, basically, it's happening a little bit later than I predicted. I didn't think they'd get through the whole season last year just relying on Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, but somehow, some way, they won the Super Bowl with it. Now you're seeing Cooper Kupp's a little bit banged up. Matthew Stafford isn't as good. The defense in the secondary is allowing more big plays, and you're just seeing that this Rams team, it's not as deep as you thought. And when their star players going down, this is just if Kupp somehow missed like 3 games, this team is toast. Who's going to step up? Robinson,
Yep.
dust. Ben Skoranek, he tries hard, but he's not Cooper Kupp. Now, if the Rams go as Cooper Kupp goes, and if he ever missed time, I mean, you can pretty much just put a cap on this season. I don't even know how this team rebuilds because they don't have any draft picks. So really interesting time for the Rams right now. If they don't get it together, they're basically like in the next couple games, they're going to miss the playoffs. And then it's like, where do you go from there? So no, I would be betting them to miss right now.
Pierce, Kupp says he feels pretty good right now. Things are pointing towards dodging a bullet, but with a healthy Kupp or not, is this team going to make the playoffs?
No. Kupp, no Kupp, doesn't matter to me. They're not making the playoffs. And a lot of it's just because of our skewed perception. They won the Super Bowl, and we just crowned them. We assumed that they were the best team because they took the trophy home. But as we've mentioned plenty of times before, you look at their playoff run and how they got into the playoffs and the teams that they faced, they weren't the best team last year, and they're absolutely not the best team this season. If they would have been blown out by Buffalo in the Super Bowl, we wouldn't be having this conversation. If they would have been blown out by Kansas City in the Super Bowl, which they would have been, we wouldn't have this conversation. They just barely beat the Bengals, and we just assume they're a good team. Matt Stafford has never really been that great of a quarterback. They don't have a running game. Their defense is older. The division got better. The game has passed them by. They're not going to the playoffs.
All right. A lot of the bad teams, guys, they looked bad on Sunday.
It was really gross.
Really bad. Blowout losses by the Bears, Steelers, and Raiders. 1-score losses by the Lions and Texans. And the Panthers, we talked about this. They found a new way to lose a game after missing an extra point because of a penalty on the touchdown by DJ Moore. So will we have 5 or 6 teams like battling for the number 1 pick 8 weeks from now? Or will any of these teams really show themselves as the worst of the worst? Pierce, you seem to think the Panthers have this worst of the worst locked up.
They do. I mean, they traded CMC. They traded Robbie Anderson. They fired their coach. Their front office has pulled all of the levers that they can to ensure that they're going to lose games. Unfortunately, Steve Wilks has not gotten that message. So if I am in the Panthers front office today, I'm bringing Steve Wilks in, and we're going to have a long conversation about what's going on. You can develop the players, but under no circumstance whatsoever are you to actually win games. And if Wilks doesn't get that message, then I bring in Ben McAdoo, the offensive coordinator, and I say, Ben, hey, maybe we'll consider giving you the job next year, but you're going to really need to call some terrible plays. We cannot win games. We're building for the future here. I think eventually the message is going to get across, and the Panthers will start to tank like we're expecting them to do.
Jeff, do you agree the Panthers have this locked up?
No.
Oh.
Unfortunately for the Panthers, they have a try-hard quarterback in DJ Walker who wants to get a job for next year. They have DJ Moore who's playing to get traded to a good team over the offseason. And they have a coach in Steve Wilks who just wants to win games. And you know what? They're also going up against the masters of the tank and the Detroit Lions. I'm sorry, Detroit may not win a game the rest of the year. This defense is awful. They can't keep their offensive players healthy. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter because Jared Goff is still the quarterback. I'd rather have P.J. Walker out there chucking 70 yards. I don't think Jared Goff can chuck the ball half that far. So, yes, the Detroit Lions, I get that. Look, I kind of like them preseason too. Their offense, super interesting. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, they'll still have their moments for fantasy, but this team is bad, and it's not going to get any worse. I don't even think Dan Campbell's going to I don't think Dan Campbell's going to last the season. Detroit Lions are going to get the number 1 overall pick again.
Hey, before we go to Monday Night Football, Jeff, trade deadline, 4 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. It's already been kind of a busy trade season up to this point. Which team needs to make a season-saving move, or do you have a bold prediction leading up to tomorrow's trade deadline?
We come to this every time of the year, and the Packers need to pick up a wide receiver. I don't even know why I'm mentioning it because they're not going to do it because they don't do it. But yes, absolutely, the Green Bay Packers need to go out and make a move. They need to get some depth in their wide receiver core position. It's not like it's not a surprise. This isn't grade 12 physics or whatever, or high school physics, and we're trying to work out a big problem here. You don't have any depth. You don't have any star power in your wide receiver core. Get Aaron Rodgers some help, Green Bay Packers. Just do it. It's just 1 draft pick, 1 first-round pick. Just do it. Just get DJ Moore, and that's it. That's all you have to do.
Come on, Pierce. Give me a bold prediction, baby.
Yeah, I'm right there. DJ Moore, Eli Moore, Jerry Jeudy. Bring in somebody, save your season. If you don't, I'm tired of talking about the Packers not having receivers. Are we going to do this all year? Go get a receiver.
All right, Monday Night Football. Bengals at the Browns. Final game of Week 8 of the regular season. Let's start in DFS. Jeff, captain, yesterday I believe you said you were going to go with the wide receiver position. You sticking with that strategy?
I do. I like Tyler Boyd a lot in this game. I just think Tyler Boyd is about to experience just a jump up in targets and just a jump up in usage with Jamar Chase out. This is a player who's an oversized slot receiver. I said it yesterday. He will get moved around the formation more now, and they're going to take more advantage of the fact that that's exactly what he is. Tyler Boyd at one point was the focal point of the Bengals offense before Chase and Burrow moved into town, and he's settled into a nice number 3 kind of complementary role. This is a player who can absolutely get moved around, and he's going up against a Browns secondary here without Denzel Ward. They're going to be hyper worried about T. Higgins on the outside. I think Tyler Boyd steps up and puts in another big performance and just reminds people that the Bengals have 3 legit wide receiver ones, not just 2. So give me Tyler Boyd. He's cheap. He's easy to fit in. I love the spot for Joe Burrow. Put up a big game and get upside. We can get access to the upside of Joe Burrow, though, with Tyler Boyd and our captain. Saves us a ton of space, too.
Yeah, $9,600 in the captain spot. Damn, Pierce, can you top that?
I'll play it safe. I'll spend more. We'll just flip them around. You can take Boyd and flex, and I'll take Burrow as the captain. The Bengals are passing more than any other team over the last 2 weeks. And we saw this last season when they turned it on and made that playoff run. They didn't necessarily give up on the run. They just realized they're a better passing team, and we're starting to see that earlier this season. I mean, he almost threw for 500 yards in his last game. How do you not get that guy in as your captain if they're going to continue to pass? And we also know Burrow likes to run. Burrow got a rushing touchdown in his last game. A little bit of upside there as well. I think it just gives you the safety so that you are going to cover all your bases, all your different receivers. And oh, by the way, the Browns have a pretty bad pass defense.
Yeah, and Burrow ended last week as the overall quarterback one, putting up nearly 43 DK fantasy points.
Oh, wow.
Coming
Okay,
off good
well, you got to find some value somewhere, Pierce. So where are you going?
So if I'm going to take Joe Burrow in the captain spot, it's going to limit me in other places. I really need a cheap option. So we're going to go with Mike Thomas filling in on the outside for Jamar Chase. Boyd's the slot receiver. Higgins is wide receiver 1. Someone's got to line up on the outside, and it's going to be Thomas because not just Jamar Chase is out, but Stanley Morgan is out as well. So he's going to line up for 75% of the snaps. Now, has he ever done anything in his career? Not really. He does have a little bit of years under his belt. He's going to be out there. They're going to pass a lot. The Browns do not have a very good defense. It is a bit of a flyer. It is risky, but it's incredibly cheap and allows you to roster any of the Bengals that you want.
Yeah, he's just going to be on the field so much. You just got to give it a shot there. Jeff, where are you going to go for your value pick?
Yeah, no, Mike Thomas definitely is in play. I mean, he's basically going to be taking over the wide receiver 3 role, should play over 50% of the snaps. I like going to Harrison Bryant. There's another big injury on the other side. David Njoku, who has just been getting peppered with targets and is just a big play machine, quite frankly, with Jacoby Brissett. He's out. Harrison Bryant has proven himself to be a very reliable pass-catching tight end. He's got a little bit of athleticism. You got Jacoby Brissett still a quarterback who just loves to target tight ends. And you look at the Bengals defense. This is very much just a defense that funnels to the middle of the field. They allow a lot of receptions to opposing tight ends. So it's a good matchup to target the other team's tight end 1. I think Harrison Bryant at 4,000, kind of trending as a must play, to be honest, for me. He's cheaper than we'd normally expect Njoku to be if he was healthy for this game. He's in a great matchup. He's got a quarterback who just loves targeting that part of the field. And we also have a game script here where we're going against Joey B, so we're probably going to be behind. Harrison Bryant is the value that you absolutely just need to stuff in today.
All right, Jeff, how about a player prop here? Ripping through the DK Sportsbook. I know you're high on Tyler Boyd. You can get plus odds there on over 5.5 receptions for him.
5.5 receptions sounds big, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
like I do like the over here. Plus 100. Boyd had 9 targets and 8 receptions. I think this is the main thing with Tyler Boyd. He is going to be very efficient with those targets. Like I said, he's just very good at just getting open. And it's not like he's taking over the wide receiver 1 position. That's T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd's going to get moved around. He's probably going to you should be projecting him for like 8 or 9 targets here. Absolutely. 5.5 does not seem that big when you start putting those two together. I do like over 5.5 receptions for Tyler Boyd. I like going over on his yards as well. And I quite frankly, I like going over on Joe Burrow props here. Joe Burrow over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I know there's a lot of juice attached to it, but let's just go big across the board on the passing totals for the Cincinnati Bengals because Joe Burrow is in form. He's got a guy in Tyler Boyd who's ready to take a step up. Go over on both of them. I think you'll be happy by the end of the game.
Yeah, Boyd last week, 155 receiving yards, 8 catches, and a touchdown. Which side are you looking at here, Pierce, for a player prop?
Let's add another Bengals prop here from the passing game. Hayden Hurst over 3.5 receptions. We know the Bengals like to pass the ball. We know the Browns do not have a very good pass defense. They've actually been pretty decent against tight ends. That's mainly because they're just giving up yards to everybody else, and so no one really goes to the tight ends against Cleveland. In his last game, Hurst caught 6 of 8 targets. The chase passes have to go somewhere. Mike Thomas might get a couple, but let's be honest, he's not going to get a lot of it. Hayden Hurst was already one of the favorites of Joe Burrow. He's going to get an increased usage. Over 3.5 seems like a pretty easy number for him to go over, especially if the Bengals are going to keep passing the way that they've been passing.
All right, how about a game bet, Pierce? Take us on over to the DK Sportsbook. Where are you looking?
I'll take the Bengals and I'll lay the points. They're just simply the better team. Joe Burrow, Mixon, Higgins, a very solid defense. The offensive line is playing better. I know they're on the road. The Browns are going to be pretty up for a home Monday night game. I don't know when the last time Cleveland hosted a home Monday night game. Maybe it was sometime in this millennium. I'm not sure. But they're going to be pumped. They're going to be excited. But at the end of the day, Jacoby Brissett and a defense that is very limited, very banged up. If Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and Denzel Ward were all 100% healthy, then I would like the Browns. But they're not. Their linebackers have not played well this year. I got to go with Burrow and the Bengals.
Jeff, give me your game bet.
Look, usually in these spots, I would do the contrarian thing. Much like last night, the correct move was to take the Packers in the 11 points. The line was inflated. All the money was in on the Bills. I'm not doing that tonight. I'm just riding with the public. I'm riding with everybody, and I'm taking the Bengals. I just think it's too much here for the Browns to expect them to stop an informed Joe Burrow, in any situation. No Njoku tonight. Denzel Ward is still out. Maybe the Browns come up and put out a good fight in the first half, but I think eventually this Bengals team just absolutely wins out. You've got the Brissett factor where a turnover can happen kind of on any play if you put them down points. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think that the Bengals ultimately cover this game. And yeah, we'd like to get it at 3 or 2.5 and get that key number, but I think there's a good chance the Bengals just end up winning this by 2 scores. Maybe we get a pick 6 at the end or something. I feel pretty good about this one. We're going to ride with the public. We're going to go and just take the Bengals to cover that minus 3.5.
Yeah, Burrow going for his first outright win against the Browns, which, by the way, Bengals guys 5-2 ATS this season, includes 3-1 ATS record on the road. Oof. So I think you both
very good
sound
on the road, Joe Burrow.
you both
very
sound
good.
very intelligent this morning. All right, Pierce, you're out. Adios. Jeff, we'll talk some golf with you coming up, but we have Game 3 of the World Series tonight. We're going to dive into some odds for that one with Eric Halterman right after this quick break.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
October baseball is all about wild cards and wild wins, because with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays, you can boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. DraftKings, I think I love you. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and boost your winnings up to 100% for each additional leg. Action's so good, why bet MLB anywhere else?
Everyone loves an underdog story. You know why? Because it fills you with hope, makes you believe, right? Hold on now. Did you say any team? So now I can bet the overdog for underdog odds? Team Overdog, where you at? Let me hear you. Hoo, 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 hoo.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
Get that Game 7 excitement any day of the NBA season with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. DraftKings is giving out $1 million in free prizes to celebrate the start of the season. Everyone plays for free, no deposit required. Every bucket, block, and board gets you closer to winning big. Open the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app, draft your lineup, and enter the NBA Free Contest Series for a shot to win big prizes. NBA action's so good, why play anywhere else? Sticking it to them, Framber Valdez. He was an ace during the World Series Game 2. Look at this man, 9 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 30 DK fantasy points. Astro tying up the series with the Phillies. But there was a lot of internet speculation that he was using a foreign substance.
Yeah.
The man does sweat a lot. He was seen wiping his forehead, touching his right hand.
It's like me. I do the same thing in studio.
The Phillies noticed he was checked frequently throughout the game,
Yeah.
and the umpires found nothing.
All right, so he changed his glove also, right? Halfway
Which
through
was
the game.
Unusual.
Yeah. So either way, we're heading back to Philly here. We got a series split, tied at 1. Let's dive into it with Eric Halterman of RotoWire right now, also a big Phillies fanatic. So, congrats, Game 1 win. That was a hell of a comeback on Friday night for the Phillies. Astros even it up though Saturday night, as you mentioned. What's been the biggest surprise to you, Eric, through 2 games?
You know, we talked about Valdez pitching well. I think the biggest surprise to me is the other 3 starters didn't. So I guess maybe they need a little bit more sticky stuff or something. But Justin Verlander, Aaron Nola, and Zach Wheeler, the 3 of them all giving up 5 runs. I mean, we know these lineups are good, but 3 out of 4 pitchers who are that elite having this poor of a start. I think the question there is which team is that worse for? It's probably the Phillies, because we've talked throughout the whole playoffs that their path towards winning a series is getting excellent performances from Wheeler and Nola and stealing another game or 2 somewhere. They haven't had that so far. They stole one anyway, though, because the lineup's been that good. And I'm really going to be interesting to see what Verlander's performance throughout the playoffs does to the Game 5 lines. He's got a 7.20 ERA, but a 331 FIP, and it's a very small sample, as any postseason sample is. So are people going to treat him as the same Justin Verlander we saw all year, or are they going to say, well, it's his first year back from Tommy John surgery. He's not young anymore. It's not a surprise that he's not quite as good as he was throughout most of the regular season. So it's going to be interesting to see where that falls in a few days from now.
All right, how are you going to approach captaining for this game 3? Like you mentioned Friday, you're probably going to generally captain the starters in this series. McCullers and Syndergaard are going tonight, so is it going to be one of them?
It does kind of have to be if either starter is viable, and there's only one starter who's viable here, and that's Lance McCullers. He's averaging 20 fantasy points per game, and again, look at some of the hottest hitters. Bryce Harper's having an amazing playoffs. He's reached that 20-point threshold just once, so you really need a compelling reason to not go with the starter. If you're building a Philly-centric lineup, I wouldn't go with Syndergaard because I don't think he's going to go very long. It would make sense that he goes about once through the order, maybe 3 innings, maybe 4 if he's lucky. 5 seems like way too much wistful thinking, I think, for the Phillies here. So I don't think I would have any interest in him. A Phillies-based lineup should probably go with somebody who might homer, like Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, something like that. But my default approach would be go with Lance McCullers, build against the Astros, expect them to score against Syndergaard and whichever shaky relievers come in innings 3 through 5 for the Phillies.
Yeah, who else needs to be in the lineup tonight?
Well, if we're paying up for a pitcher at the top, we don't have much room, so we basically have to include the cheapest regulars. But there's a couple that are viable. Trey Mancini, if he plays, he's hitless in the postseason. That's only 5 games. We know he has power, though. Brandon Marsh on the Phillies side, not a 0 in power either, especially at a park like Citizens Bank Park that's pretty small and not hard to clear the fence at. The winning lineup here is probably going to be the one that includes the better starting pitcher and all of the homers. If there's 3 homers in this game, you fit them all alongside McCullers, that's probably going to be the guy who takes it down. So you need to have these cheap guys who might hit homers so that you can squeeze as many of the more expensive bats in as possible.
All right, how about a player prop for game 3 here, Eric?
I don't like saying this as a Phillies fan, but probably just Lance McCullers to win. Plus 200 for him, I believe it is, compared to minus 130 for the Astros winning. That's too big of a gap in my mind, because the reason you're betting on the Astros here, I think, is because you don't trust Noah Syndergaard. At least that would be the reason I'd lean that way, and I think a lot of other people will be feeling the same way. And if you're betting on them because you think the Astros will get the early advantage, then take the much bigger payout on the guy who's going to get the win. I say it's up to 205 now, so even better. All he has to do is go 5. He might not. That is the biggest risk with this one. That's why you're getting a better payout than on the Astros just winning. The Phillies have the lineup to knock him out of the game early. And, he's not perfect. He's not quite on the level of some of the other aces, but he's an excellent pitcher. I think it's very easy to see him, giving up 2 or 3 in 5 or 6 while the Astros lineup scores a few early runs and then shuts it down with the bullpen the rest of the way.
All right, what do you like for a game bet here? You got the Phillies as home underdogs tonight, man, on the money line, plus 115.
Yeah, and I've said throughout the playoffs you should take the underdog unless you have a compelling reason not to. I think you have a compelling reason not to today, as much as I don't like that that's the case. I think that compelling reason is Noah Syndergaard. He just has not been vintage Thor throughout the season, really, especially with the Phillies. His strikeout rate dropped below 14% after that trade. I mean, guys just don't succeed in the majors with strikeout rates that low. You can't allow that much contact to hitters this good. Minus 130, I kind of expected it to be even more tilted in the Astros' favor. So I'm happy to go that way. It's the rare case where I actually would take a favorite in a postseason game.
You mentioned vintage Thor.
Vintage Thor.
Look at this. Hey,
Thor.
you got to check this out. Thor. That's what he's talking about.
But
vintage
that's
Thor right
my
there,
dog.
yo.
It's my dog.
Yeah.
But we do
glad
have.
to see you as a Phillies fan today, at least in.
Yeah, hey,
in
why
some
not?
Yeah, I don't think we
We'll
can
just-
roster him.
we'll
We don't
roll
want
with
to
that.
either because he's recovering from being neutered.
Yeah, he is.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but any changes in
on
series
the
props at this point here, Eric? Phillies have home field advantage at this point. Maybe look for Phillies in 5 for some value. Would you take it?
I wouldn't, but it's not insane. 3 coin flips. If you called all these games coin flips, you'd expect to get plus 700 on a team winning 3 in a row. The Phillies look like they were at plus 650, so that says that they're actually slightly more than a coin flip to win these games. I don't think that's accurate. I think they're the weaker team, especially in games 3 and 4 when they're unlikely to have one of their 2 aces on the mound. If you want to say that the Philly crowd has been powering them throughout the playoffs, and I don't I don't want to be like overly Philly biased here, but it's more than Philly people who say that the Philly crowd is quite a good crowd. So maybe you want to say that they're better than just, the raw strength of the two rosters, and you do want to take that bet. I think the safer one is probably Philly's -1.5 games. So that would be Philly's winning in 5 or 6. Plus 260, I think that fits in a sweet spot. Because the game I specifically don't trust the Phillies in is Game 7. Game 7s tend to be whole staff versus whole staff. The Astros just have far more trustworthy pitchers, especially if Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler pitch in Game 5 and Game 6. And at most, maybe you get 1 inning from Nola in that Game 7. So if the Phillies are going to win, I don't think it's happening in 7 games. If you're taking their side, consider that much higher payout on the Phillies -1.5 games.
All right, Halterman. Good stuff, dude. We ride or die with you tonight, man.
Yep.
We are all one with the Phillies tonight.
Yep.
Okay,
Nice
so
to have the whole country Phillies fans.
we got you. Well, it's more because like our conversation before, we both love like meat and cheese, like Philly cheesesteaks and stuff like that. So we're all on the same page. We're gonna talk some. We're gonna talk some NHL picks, NBA building blocks. Jeff Pratt's gonna join us in studio. But right after this break, Jeff Ulrich returns for some picks to dish out on the PGA Tour. They're in Mexico this week.
You want to be a showstopper? You want to be awesome? Then you'll want to have a game plan. Whether you're a champion or a bettor, you got to be responsible. Have a realistic budget and bet within your means. Set a time limit, then stick to it. And use the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps. They offer all these tools and more so you can practice safe bets. Can I get a mic to drop?
Hold up. DraftKings, you're telling me that you're boosting same-game parlays? Well, that's big time. Actually, big is big enough. We're going to need a new word. Jumbo munganous. No, mastromengus. Gargantuloso. Ah, see? The pink duck gets it.
DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. Boost your winnings up to 100% for our biggest payouts ever. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
What'd you say, Carl?
Baseball's dead? Nah. We've got pitchers hitting grand slams, a team playing a 4-man outfield, and the best crop of major league talent maybe ever. Baseball is alive and well, and it's about to get even better.
Bet just $5 to get 100 in free bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, bet $5 to get 100 instantly, and get in on the action.
All right.
Look at this man.
This man is named Victor. And this man is exceptional at golf. And let me tell you what, he's got an opportunity here. He's being mentioned in the same breath as Tiger Woods. Yeah, so he could join. There are players to win the same tour event 3 straight years since 1980, Steve Stricker, Stuart Appleby, and Tiger Woods. Now, Victor Hovland, if he wins.
And Victor Hovland, question mark.
Victor Hovland, question mark, because he has to win this week in Mexico. I don't know, Jeff Ulrich. We
What
got
do
the
you
Worldwide
think?
Technology Championship. Does he have another one in him? How do you feel about his chances of three-peating here, man?
I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, this setup just dials Victor Hovland right in. What have we seen from him throughout his career? He loves these little coastal courses where you don't have to do much around the greens. You put the ball in the fairway and you just go and attack these receptive greens with your irons. I mean, Victor Hovland hit 84% of the greens in his first win. He hit over 76% of the greens in his second win. That's great because a short game sucks and he doesn't have to scramble it all on these courses. So he just dials it in. He gets his putter warmed up because the greens are slower and he goes to town. And there's really no reason to think that anything is going to change this year. So, I mean, I'm not fading Victor Hovland this week. I don't really think you should either. I mean, it certainly sets up as a spot where he's played a couple times in the fall. He was 5th at the Zozo 2 starts ago. Yeah, he tailed off a little bit at the CJ Cup, but not a huge deal. It's a player who still made the Tour Championship. He's just a quality player, wins all around the world. And quite frankly, he likes playing outside the USA. So will it surprise me if Victor Hovland three-peats here? Absolutely not. We got some players in the field, but most of the top players that we have here either haven't played much or just aren't in good form. Victor Hovland should be the deserving favorite this week.
Okay, I mean, the segment is pin placement, so tell me where he's going to finish.
Yes. He's going to finish first.
He's going to finish first. Okay, so he's plus 1,000 on the DK Sportsbook for an outright. Only man out there who has shorter odds, Scotty Scheffler, plus 900.
All right, let's talk about Seamus Power. He was the top-ranked player. Power player. He was the top-ranked player.
Were you just watching? Was he hanging out with
top-ranked
Dropkick
Irishman,
Murphys?
Jesse.
Yeah,
He's the top-ranked Irishman.
And
I'll save you here.
He won it in Bermuda, and yes, I was just watching on Twitter. The PGA Tour tweeted out that the Dropkick Murphys sang a song for him,
serenaded him?
Yeah, they were they said a victory ballad from the Dropkick Murphys to Seamus Power. So they are on their tour bus, made up a little jig for him.
That's sweet, dude.
So
what a great story.
obviously he's got that going for him, Jeff. So where's he finishing this week?
And he's the top power as well in the field, so he's got a lot going for him. Look, Seamus Power came into last week. He wasn't really playing well. His irons had kind of sucked a couple weeks in a row. And he just dusted a weaker field at what was basically just a little pitch and putt for the PGA Pros. Not much has changed this week. There's a little bit more talent at the top, but the course is very similar. I mean, we have another short par 71. It's a resort course. The greens here are super receptive, and there's rain in the forecast. This is not going to give Seamus Power any problems at all. I got him penciled in for a top 10. We'll say T6 this week. I don't think there's going to be much fatigue. We saw Brendan Todd do this double 3 years ago. He won both the Bermuda and then came here the next week and won in Mayakoba. Now, this field's a little bit heavier because we have Morikawa, we got Scheffler, so I'm not going to pencil Power in for the win. He'll be the top power, like Jesse said, but not the top winner because Hovland's here, and he just wins all the time at this event. So we'll pencil Seamus Power in for another good week. I think you just see much more continuation from a guy who's clearly confident in these setups. He's not going to be bothered by anything other than just a short plane trip over this week.
All right, who has the best finish among these three? Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, and Tony Finau.
Yeah, this is an interesting group, isn't it? I mean, Finau hasn't played at all during the Fogs outside of the President's Cup. We got Morikawa, who just clearly searching to find something in his game. I mean, the iron's still pretty solid. Off the tee's not terrible, but everything else around the green, the putter, it's just not working. And then you've got Scheffler, who, this is his first event where he's after losing the #1 player in the world status. Yep. I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler. He looked okay for spurts in his last start. He couldn't really get it going either, but I'm going to go with him over Morikawa. I don't want a piece of Finau. I think Finau's probably just here on vacation this week with his 6 to 8 kids. And I think it's Scheffler or Morikawa who are kind of searching and doing some really grinding this fall. I think it's going to be Scheffler who bounces back and probably has the best finish here. He finished T4 at this event last season, gave Hovland a good run. I think a similar thing happens. I'm going to pencil Scotty Scheffler in for a T6, a T4 again. He's not that far off. We just need the putter to show up. He's got a better around the green game than Morikawa as well. So give me Scheffler here. I won't be shocked if Morikawa pops up with a good week. It's going to happen eventually, but he does seem like the player who's a little bit further off right now.
Yeah, Tony Finau is the Phillip Rivers of the PGA Tour.
Absolutely.
With all of those children.
That's great. Tons of kids.
Great dude.
Halloween
Yes,
is
he
fun
is.
for them. Is Billy Horschel going to finish near the top? What do we think about
Yeah,
this guy?
Billy host season.
I mean, I can tell who wrote this script.
Yeah.
Billy Horschel's in it. God forbid we go one event without talking about Billy Horschel. No, but in all seriousness, this is probably a good event to talk about Billy Horschel. It's a veteran type of setup. Yep. The types of winners we've seen here before Hovland moved in and started just taking over, Pat Perez, Matt Kuchar, veteran type players who can just get dialed in with their irons and just go to town with their putter. Billy Horschel has come here almost every season for good reason. It's a good setup for him because that's exactly the type of player he is. He leans on his irons and then his putter as well when it gets hot. He's got 2 top 10s at the Mayakoba Classic, or Championship as it's called now, over the 2 of the last 3 seasons. He made the cut here last year, but he's in pretty good form. I mean, he gained over 5 strokes on approaches last time out, put in a good performance. He's played a couple times in the fall. This is what you like to see from these veteran players. You want them to play a little bit here coming in, and it's a really good setup. I'm going to pencil Billy Ho right in beside Seamus Power and Scotty Scheffler with the top 10. So we're really just rounding out the top 10 here, but in all seriousness, this is a tough spot to fade Billy Horschel. He's got form, he's got the style that we want, and he's just got the pedigree, knows what he's doing on these courses. I will not be shocked if Billy Horschel puts in a very solid week for fantasy purposes.
And he loves wearing tight white pants as well, which you could break those out in Mexico. Doesn't matter if it's after Labor Day. Anyone else?
Risky, but you could, yes.
Yeah, it is very risky, especially with all those delicious street tacos. Anyone else you like specifically because of their recent form besides, say, like a Seamus Power, who we've already talked about?
There's a couple players down here. I mean, Harris English is a former winner of this event. And, I mean, he's still working his way back from form off a major injury, but plus 8,000 right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to take a look at that. Harris English is a guy who just knows how to roll the rock. He's not going to get in too much trouble here off the tee. Joel Dahman is another one at plus 8,000. He's been in good form. We got the recent form that we want from him. A couple top 20 finishes already on the fall. His iron play has looked superb. His only win came in Punta Cana. Again, off mainland kind of event, easier course, resort-style course. Joel Dahman's finished in the top 20 multiple times at this event, and he's coming in with good form in the fall. This is a player who knows where he needs to make his money. And for Joel Dahman, these events are big because he's a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And these are the kind of courses where his game can excel. Elite iron player when he's in form. I think plus 650 for a top 10 year for Dahman, more than reasonable. You should be looking at him in top 20 and top 40 markets this week as well. He's a player I really want to target for fantasy here. Again, just that recent form, relying on that. I think Dahman comes in, puts in a very solid week, and I'd be targeting him once the salaries come out on DraftKings this week too.
All right, good stuff. Thank you,
Ulrich
Jeff.
later, dude.
Yeah,
We're going to
appreciate
go
it.
from Jeff with a G to Jeff with a J. We got Jeff Pratt. He's going to slide on over here while we point out this graphic. Jeff, smooth slide onto the desk.
Yeah,
Nobody
nice.
sees it at all.
Nobody's gonna know.
The Lakers, by the way, picked up their first win of the season last night over a good team. Over a good team. Who was it? Denver, right, Jeff? All right, so 67 points combined from LeBron, Davis, and Westbrook. 18 points for Russell Westbrook. Congratulations, Darvin Ham. First-year head coach there in L.A., picking up his
Oh my
first
God, Jeff's
dub.
here.
Holy cow!
crap, he's here.
Is that a corduroy
Wow.
sweatshirt?
Yeah,
It is.
that's
Some
nice.
of us like to dress nice.
Yeah,
What
that's
are you
nice.
talking about? Repping the
Yeah.
company here,
Of
bro.
course,
I'm
of
dressed
course,
up as a
of course,
hockey
of
player
course.
for Halloween.
Okay, yeah, you look great, dude.
Thanks,
Everyone's
dude.
gonna buy that. All right.
What do you have
let's
'em here for? Building
just
blocks?
Do building blocks, yeah.
'Kay.
All right, so Jeff, you're gonna hit us with the best guard to build around in DFS. Who's it gonna be for you?
It's going to be Tyrese Halliburton at 8,500. And the Indiana Pacers are not going to be on national television a lot this year. But when they are, I urge all of you NBA fans out there to sit down and endure what will likely be 2.5 hours of mediocre basketball just to watch this kid play. Because he is the NBA's most improved player, in my opinion. Last year, he averaged 17.5 points per game, and that has jumped to 23.4 this season, which is an advancement that I wasn't really expecting coming from him because he is more of a pass-first point guard. And speaking of passing, he's averaging 10 assists per game. He's one of only two guards, one of only two players in the NBA behind Chris Paul to average double-digit assists per game. And with that bump in production comes a significant bump in usage too. He was consistently in the teens last year. That usage rate hasn't dipped below 21% yet this season. Tonight, he's facing the Nets. They're more of a train wreck than any of us were expecting.
Yep.
And they're nearly dead last in fantasy points per game allowed to guards. So I would opt for Halliburton over a couple of more expensive elite options.
Save a little money. We like that.
Yeah, and he could definitely dominate in this one because, as you mentioned, you have the Nets allowing more than 122 points per game, which it's interesting. In the guard department, too, you have Kyrie Irving, who is near the top of the salary board. But what about in the forwards department? Which one is worth building your lineups around? What do you think?
You know, Emerson, we talked about it on Friday. I'm going to go right back to it. This is where you pay all the way up for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Hell yeah,
who
brother.
is just the best player on the planet by a considerable margin right now. And he's also the most expensive player on today's slate by over $2,000 at $12.5K. That's a lot of money. That being said, he still needs to make it into your lineup tonight. I don't really need to dive into what makes Giannis so amazing from a fantasy perspective. He scored 64 plus fantasy points in 4 straight games. His usage rate is just at a monster level. It's been over 40% in 3 of those contests. Tonight he's playing the Pistons. They rank 22nd in fantasy points allowed to bigs. He could play 3 quarters and hit 60 DraftKings fantasy points.
Dude.
All right.
60 DK, sorry to cut you off here. I mean, like, he really is having a monster year, which obviously translates to DK fantasy points.
Yeah.
over 60 DK fantasy points on 4 occasions already this year.
It's crazy.
Dude, didn't he have one that was like 70-something?
Yeah.
That's why you got to pay all the way up for him. So if you're paying all the way up for him, you're going to save a little money when you find like a center who can hold up your lineups here.
There are a couple of decent value options at center. I'm actually going to give people an option if they do want to pivot off of Giannis, though, which I wouldn't recommend. But if you do want to pivot off of him, I think that you can find pretty good value in Pascal Siakam, who's just under 9K. There are a lot of flashier players out there, but Siakam has just been the model of consistency from a real life and fantasy perspective. He scored 47 plus fantasy points in 5 straight games. He hasn't scored less than 20 actual points in a game this year, and his usage rate has been really good as well. It's dipped below 26% just once this season. Fred VanVleet is questionable for tonight's game. If he sits out, Siakam should see even more usage. He's got a good matchup against Atlanta. They rank 21st in fantasy points allowed to centers. This is a good spot for him if you want to pay up for someone, but not an elite player, someone in that tier just below.
Atlanta allowing over 50 fantasy points per game to the position. Jeff, it's almost like you know what you're doing right now.
He does, he knows.
So then help us with like a top value play out there, because some of these dudes are a little chunky with salaries. Anyone who's going to cost less but who could deliver like a stud.
So I like 2 guys in this value range. The first is a value center, so we'll talk about that. It's Clint Capella at exactly 5K, and I had to triple check this price because I believe it's the cheapest that he has been in years. And you may say, okay, Capella's price is dropping, that means his production's probably dropping. But the numbers are still pretty solid. He's had 31 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. Clint Capella's a double-double machine. You know what you're getting with him. And then the second value player I like is Marcus Morris, and I like him more than Capella at 4,900. This one's pretty simple. He's scored 30 plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. He's going to see an expanded role with Kawhi Leonard resting tonight. Robert Covington is likely still going to be in health and safety protocol, so the Clippers are really thin at power forward. There's a route tonight where he sees a usage rate of over 20%, and he plays 30 plus minutes. And if that happens, you're getting great return on value with him.
All right, Jeff, take us home with your favorite bet on the DK Sportsbook tonight. We need it.
No, that smile. That's a Celtic smile.
It's not. It's actually not a Celtic smile.
Okay, good.
No. If we were talking longer, I'd tell you how Jason Tatum's going to win MVP. Okay. But it's the Sixers -5 against the Washington Wizards tonight. Philly, they're not playing at a level anywhere near what people were expecting this year, but they are still leaps and bounds ahead of the Wizards right now. Washington's lost 3 of their last 4. Philly's won 3 of their last 4, including back-to-back wins over the Raptors and Bulls, so they are gaining some momentum. It's important to note, however, that Joel Embiid is questionable. If he plays in this game, they're going to destroy Washington, just because it doesn't matter if they throw Kristaps Porzingis at him, Daniel Gafford, they have no one who can contain Joel Embiid. If he sits, I still think the Sixers have enough talent to cover this spread.
All right, dude. Great having you here in studio.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum, by the way,
Thank you.
+900 for
it.
MVP.
Yeah.
I see it, dude. All right, we gotta hit the ice with Paul and AJ right after this, so stick with us.
All right. Let's take a look at tonight's NHL slate. Do not laugh at me. Emerson, you're dressed as a hockey player.
You're damn right I am.
Yeah.
This is why this is my favorite segment.
All right, so 3-game slate, pretty small. Here to help us make sense of it, RotoWire's AJ Schultz and Paul Bruno.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get your, wow, the
What?
stash on AJ.
Let me see it. I missed it. Wow. Can
Whoa,
I see it? Whoa. Hello, Clarice.
King. All right, we're going to
Super Mario.
Yeah, we'll start with you, AJ.
It's a me,
Top
AJ.
DFS play tonight?
I'm sorry, what?
It's the top DFS
We need your
play.
top in DFS to play tonight.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to go pretty off book on this one, and I'm going to look at Buffalo's Kyle Okposo at 3,300 tonight.
Ooh.
But based on the morning skate, he's expected to move to the top line with Thompson and Skinner. That comes in addition to his already existing power play role. He's coming off a 2-assist night the previous time out. He's averaging 3 shots a game over his last 4 contests. So I think this is a really strong value play at just 3,300 for a guy that's moving up the depth chart right now.
All right, Paul, top DFS play tonight. It could be a value, it could be top price. Where are you going?
Well, the most important play on a short slate, I talked about this last week. I said it's important to get the winning goalie who's going to be the foundation of your winning DFS play on a small slate like this. So for me, it's Freddie Anderson of Carolina, who should have little trouble dealing with the visiting Caps tonight. I see the other 2 games as toss-ups and have a harder time picking out the winning goalie in those matchups. So I'm going to go with Freddie Anderson.
All right, dudes. What I love about a 3-game slate, a small slate like this, is we can rip through like each of them. So we'll start with your best bet for Detroit and Buffalo, AJ.
Well, from a value standpoint here, I would just consider taking the Red Wings plus 130 on the money line. Both these teams are off to strong starts to the year, so it should be a relatively even matchup. But Detroit netminder Ville Husso has been definitely up and down to start the year, but overall, I favor him over Eric Comrie, who's had some pretty rough outings as well. So I think both teams evenly matched, and so for that standpoint, I just go with the value here, Red Wings plus 130.
All right, Paul, what do you think for this one?
Well, I'm going to go back to a DFS type slant, and I'm going to say the entire Buffalo Sabres top line is the matchup here. AJ talked about how it's been rejigged and reset, so I think putting all 3 guys in your DFS play makes a lot of sense. Tage Thompson, for instance, is a matchup nightmare for the Wings tonight. This guy stands a towering 6'7" with great offensive skills. He has 6 points and 4 shots on goal per game already so far. He costs only $6,100, and you can fit in that whole line pretty easily with the fact that they've rejigged it as AJ identified.
Yeah, I mean, Sabres power play has been pretty decent too here, guys. I didn't even realize until moments ago they have scored in 5 of its last 6 games.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah.
All right,
Anyhow.
Paul, best bet for Washington and Carolina.
I like the puck line bet for Carolina. I think they're going to roll Washington tonight. The Canes also run up a total on the shot clock most nights, getting that home ice advantage to really work for them. The second line is where I'm also looking for individual DFS value, with Martin Netchcash almost valuing very well at $5,200, almost 3 shots per game on his ledger, 11 points as well. So something of a surprise there that he's only priced at $5,200. On a night where you'll be tempted to use some of the higher priced players elsewhere, Netchcash is a relatively potent option that'll bring down your average cost too.
All right, AJ, best bet for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the goal scorer props for this contest and go with the simple play here in Alexander Ovechkin. He's coming in at plus 125 as the anytime goal scorer. You look over his last 3 games, he's put 17 shots on net, scored twice. The fact that you're getting plus value on him despite that recent performance, I think is worth cashing in here.
All right, dudes. Third one here. Best bet for Kings and Blues. AJ, what you want here, dude?
I'm going to target the over in this one. It's currently sitting at 6. You've got both of these teams in the bottom 10 in terms of goals allowed per game, with the Kings conceding 4.1 goals per game to start the year. They've also managed to generate some offense, so I think the over is absolutely in play. When I looked earlier, there were no alternate totals yet on the DK Sportsbook, but I would consider moving to the alternate 6.5 to get some added value here, but certainly you can stick with the 6 and keep the push in play if you want.
Paul, Kings have maybe some momentum on their side after that win against the Maple Leafs.
Everybody's being the Maple Leafs. I'm in a lousy mood. Let's get this going here. I think the St. Louis Blues is a team that I'm attracted to tonight on the puck line, guys. I still don't like the fact the Kings are giving up a lot of goals. St. Louis playing much more responsibly, and I like on the DFS side of things a DFS matchup of interest to me. The two centers who play very similar style of game, Ryan O'Reilly and. He's on the top line for St. Louis, only $4,100. That's tremendous value. Philip Pinot as well, one of the top checking centers, found his scoring eye over there, only $3,900. So don't forget the DFS value plays that are available in this option. You got a coin flip here if you want to get one of these two guys in, and you can put a big guy in at center as well beside them.
All right, fellas, good
Guys,
stuff.
awesome, man. Enjoy Halloween.
Happy
AJ,
Halloween.
what are you going as tonight? Is that why you got the stash?
Yeah, going with a little Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec.
hell
The
yeah.
missus dressed up as Leslie Knope, so looking good.
All right, dude. Tweet us a
Unbelievable.
pic later. I want to see that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
That's going to be exceptional.
That is awesome.
All right, we got the slate at 5 p.m. though. The
Yep.
day is not over. We got Madden at noon, and we will be back in the studio tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. So see you then.
Let's go eat lunch.
Okay.